fucking pissed off. Why? Because this fucking faggot called Draft Pina dares to disrespect our great Lord Enter and his sexy cartoon with his stupid fucking video calling it a failure. No! Screwing around isn't a fucking failure. It's the greatest show in existence because it is a moral horseshoeing cartoon for autistic men children like me made by Mr. Enter. You better enjoy my video and agree with everything I say or else I will come to your house and kill you slowly and painfully. Here we fucking go.
Crowdfunding on the internet is always a gamble, even from trusted people. We have seen many cases of projects being funded, yet not delivered for one reason or another. But as for failed concepts, what happens to those ideas? Does the creator move on with another project? Or do they perpetually toil away on something that never worked the first time around? Meet Jonathan Rosansky, or as
Thanks for showing me that sexy picture of Mr. Enter. Now I'm having fantasies of Mr. Enter coming to my house and giving me a blowjob.
he's better known online as the internet cartoon critic, the mysterious Mr. Enter.
A fucking course, you retard. Everyone knows Mr. Enter. He is the greatest fucking critic in the universe. Anyone who disagrees should be thrown into a volcano.
He had such high hopes for a living that his cartoon would succeed. Asking for $350,000?
That is a reasonable amount of money. I would beat up a bunch of kids for their lunch money just so that goal would be reached.
Was that goal achieved? And if not, is he still pursuing the idea? Hello? I'm Daft Pina, and this is Growing Around Mr. Enter's Failure.
No! 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 Growing Around isn't a failure. It's the greatest fucking show in existence. It has morals, and it will ruin kids' innocence by promoting them with serious topics.
I mean, sure, if you look at the title, you can guess how it went.
It went great.
Join me in figuring out who Mr. Enter is first.
No! I don't want to. Who is Mr. Enter? Who the fuck is Mr. Enter? Are you retarded? Mr. Enter is the one who gave you cartoons. He is the one who sets rules for writers to make and restrict straight creativity and show telling so there can be less fun and more cartoons that horseshoe a bunch of overused morals like loud howls that grandchildren can jerk off to. He also panned shows like Mr. Pickles and Teen Titans Go, and sentences the writers of those shows to die painfully by being thrown in a pit of broken glass and bleeding to death. Our Lord Enter shows us that it is not okay to like shows like Family Guy and Mama Named Me Sheriff, and that giving women independence is dead, which is why shows like DC Superhero Girls should get cancelled and the writers of these shows should be stoned and have it shown that their skulls and other body parts get broken painfully so we can jerk off to it like we and wants to ruin children's childhoods by giving them boring, overused moral cartoons like Creed of the Creek and My Little Pony, and no stupid shows like Star Wars The Clone Wars which have no morals and are very mean-spirited, or Thundercats Roar which is critically panned and has no morals and is a full comedy.
Born 1992 in Massachusetts, Mr. Enter used to be known as a Brony reviewer and was an active member of the Brony analyst community.
Ah yes! The Brony analyst community is the community of heroes who whine about cartoons and bad episodes of My Little Pony like putting your wolf down, and attacks the writers for making bad episodes of cartoons that aren't Enter a Bravo.
And subsequently, all of his reviews back in 2013 were just pony related.
Well, what did you expect? Ponies are so fucking sexy. I fanned to them like Anyone who doesn't like ponies need to be sent to a third world country and get their limbs blasted off.
However, his first non-horse related video was
How dare you call ponies horses? Ponies are not horses, you dumb cunt. You fucking dumbass nigger. You should be beaten up and killed.
Called Animated Atrocities, The Splinter, in which he reviews an episode of SpongeBob SquarePants. Well, back then, you'd call them yellings, rather than reviews.
Those are reviews, you fat cunt piece of shit. How dare you spit on our Lord Enter's work, you fucking satanic bitch.
How did 3 professional level writers come forth with this crap when a 5-year-old would know better and throw it in the trash? These 3 do not deserve to have jobs. They deserve to be fired immediately and blacklisted.
Oh yeah, I agree with you, Great Lord Enter. Nate Crash, Sean Sharmatz, and Stephen Banks need to be thrown into North Korea and get their heads chopped off and be forced to watch their families get raped and killed. Then get salt into their wounds and have their skulls busted with a hammer, then thrown into a small room to slowly bleed to death. That is so fucking funny just to think about.
And so with that, he stopped making MLP content to focus on animated atrocities as well as admirable animation, where he talks about animated things that he likes.
You mean cartoons everyone should like, because anyone who disagrees with Mr. Enter needs to be sent to ISIS and be beheaded.
Also of note, in 2016, he hired his first editor, and his videos look slightly better.
Not that Mr. Enter needs improvement.
Still making content to this day, he stopped making admirable animations, branched out into some live-action film reviews, and even...
Why did you zoom in to the comments off section? People are not allowed to criticize Mr. Enter because he is a god.
made a better revered series on his channel called Technocracy. This documentary series revolves around his thoughts on current social media on the internet, but those are the positives, as if you've ever heard of Mr. Enter.
Everything about Mr. Enter is good. He is a god.
It's probably something he did like 7 years ago, 8 years ago.
Oh my gosh, you fucking retard. Everyone knows he did this in 1726.
As he was a lot more harsh and hateful, calling specific attention to writers of shows, which got them harassment from his fan base. Remember, this is over children's cartoons.
So what? Those writers deserve to get death threats by those good little grandchildren of Lord Enter.
But with all of his years critiquing animated television shows, did Enter have any ideas of his own? Yes, kind of.
What the fuck do you mean by kind of? Growing Around is a completely original cartoon. The idea came from a bad show, so that makes it original.
Back in 2014, Mr. Enter was writing the 55th episode in his review series, Anime Atrocities, and in this one, he reviews something called Shorts, which was a 2006-2007 anthology series on the Disney Channel, just showing some pilots. And one idea that caught his attention was called Flip-Flopped, a pilot that depicts role reversal of parents and kids. You could say it's like Freaky Friday, but it's not.
Freaky Friday sucks. It's live action, so it's not autistic enough for me.
Within his review, Enter, like many of his older videos, gives it a scathing critique, declaring this was a wasted concept on the people who made it, with little to no positives on the matter.
Oh yeah, the creators of that show should get stabbed to death with pitchforks. Growing Around is a much better show because it has morals.
He even said,
The concept is great. In fact, I really think that someone should roll with this again. Just keep the kids as kids and adults as adults. Just flip their roles. That would make an awesome cartoon.
That line caused Mr. Enter to focus over 6 years on his spin of the idea, turning it into Growing Around. And no, there was no prior name. It was always called Growing Around.
Why the fuck would it need a prior name? Growing Around is a perfect name because it was thought up by Lord Enter.
But to turn back time a little bit, during Mr. Enter's MLP days, he met the artist Neofla. Neo.
You are so stupid at reading names. I read names so much better than you. Well, that was such a stupid joke. You are so retarded for thinking that was funny.
After, he drew a comic based on one of Mr. Enter's writing works, and with that, they became better acquainted while he's making the review of Shorty McShortshorts. They put their minds together to work on Growing Around. That's right, Growing Around is not just Mr. Enter's property, it's Neo's as well.
No, it's not. Growing Around is all Enter's property. Nealpha is just a stupid animator who is not important.
Mr. Enter was the writer, and Neo being the art asset creator, storyboard artist, and even the overall product manager. In July 2014, they had a few scripts and characters done, with Enter wanting to pitch the show to Disney and or Cartoon Network. It was never, like, specific.
Those evil companies suck for not accepting this cartoon.
When interviewing Neofla, some of the details are a bit spotty since this was like 6 years ago. To get more stuff done, Neo added some volunteers to produce more art for the show. At this time, there was no budget, as all the people working on it, from the art assets and the voice actors, were all just volunteer. Working towards a pilot to
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god! Mr. Enter's work! I am so honored to be in the presence of our great Lord Enter's cartoon! This is some great shit here! Anyone who disagrees needs to be thrown into a chemical waste pit and get their face melted off!
pitch. The concept of growing around starred the Dunn family, Robert and Linda as parents, Sally and Timmy as kids. Later on, Timmy would be changed to Max.
Who the fuck cares? Oh shit! I just disrespected Lord Enter's work! Oh Father Great Lord Enter, please forgive my sin!
But here's the catch. In this world, kids rule. They drive, work, and dictate the lives of adults, with the original pilot following Robert and Linda failing a class?
Oh my god! This is such great animation where Robert's upper body just disappears in the scene! Amazing work, great and almighty Enter!
Yes, once you become an adult in this world, you have to go to school forever? And basically, you lose all your human rights. God, that sounds like a nightmare and a terrible place to live in past the age of 18.
What the fuck do you mean? That sounds like an amazing place to live! I wish I could go there, to fuck all the little kids like.
Progress was as awful as the premise, as in 2015, while Neo was redesigning the characters, he calculated that at the pace they were going at, it would take them nearly 7 years to complete a pilot. That would make it about 2022 with the small team they had.
You talk like a fucking retard! Stop stopping for a second on the last word of your sentence, you dumb cunt!
Shortly after, due to personal reasons, Neofla quit in 2015, with the team dispersing as well.
The Alpha is such a selfish piece of shit! How dare he quit on the cartoon by Mr. Enter so he could do stuff like tend to his stupid sick mother who could die? What could possibly be more important than working on a cartoon made by Great Lord Enter?
And around this time, with no real team, Mr. Enter wrote a book based on the characters they're growing around.
Oh yeah! I usually don't like books, but I would buy one from Mr. Enter so I can come on the pages and eat them. Yummy!
It was released in digital and physical form, with his intentions behind it to help fund comics and perhaps animations of his idea, the idea of growing around. In 2016, Neofla came back on the project,
Yes! He'd better come back and kiss Lord Enter's ass!
but having some quarrels with the concept, sent Mr. Enter a document called Growing Under My Skin.
What the fuck? How dare he criticizes Lord Enter's work? He needs to get his eyes gouged out by toothpicks.
Which detailed all the issues he had with the project. But as per request from Neofla, I can't show the document in full, but I can give some generalities. He criticized the world, the ramifications of perpetual adulthood in school, or having adults in general, the lack of actual kids in strips,
Those are stupid critics. The world doesn't need to be explained.
Sally being a terrible person and terrible main character,
No! Sally is not a terrible character. Sally is super sexy. I wish I could get a blowjob from her like How fucking dare he say that? The Alpha needs to be locked into a room with flamethrowers but be kept alive only to animate for the cartoon.
and other small details here and there. But what did Mr. Enter think of this document? Well, he actually listened and began to retool the project.
That is such great animation. Thank you, Lord Enter, for blessing us with this wonderful animation.
But instead of working on a pilot, they shifted focus to shorts. Neofla's reasoning was,
Since the team wasn't interested in working on the project anymore.
Wait! What a warm team! They need to get their cars ready to explode and die!
Because we moved on to try to do shorts and that failed as well. And we're like, well, if we can't do shorts, we're not going to be able to do a pilot.
and in April of 2017, He redesigned the characters another time, and the team did their best with a short. Sadly, however, they weren't able to complete a short in the way they wanted to, and for a second time, the team disbanded.
What is up with this satanic team and disbanding? How dare those mean trolls abandon Mr. Enter? They need to starve to death and be sent to hell to rot for eternity.
With Neofla leaving the project 1 month before the Indiegogo. June 20th, 2018, Mr. Enter released an Indiegogo trailer for his idea of growing around. Yes, instead of, say, producing a short to see what you're capable of, Mr.
Enter doesn't need to show people what he is capable of. His cartoons are great and perfect because they were made by him.
Enter asked for $350,000. Oh, you think that amount is for like a series of episodes? Well, no. Try one.
So fucking what? That is more than reasonable to see one episode of the Great Lord Enters cartoon.
Actually, it isn't even an episode. It's a pilot. Basing the budget on similar pilots and even Family Guy. Asking for $350,000.
Again, that's not expensive. If anything, it's fucking cheap. I would go as far as robbing a bank just to reach that goal.
This was just the start of the series. The story itself being at least 22 minutes in length, because in an interview, Mr. Enter said that he isn't capable of writing anything shorter.
Yes, the Great Lord Enters talents are much more expansive than anything shorter than 22 minutes because all cartoons shorter than that are awful. This certainly isn't boasting in the slightest.
With the time limit, it allows me to really get into certain issues and the nuances in them. Plus, it is a personal weakness of mine. I have a hard time writing things short. Like, we definitely tried for an 11 or a 7 or even shorter minute pilot, but I had a hard time creating an entire coherent story in that amount of time.
This is certainly not bragging at all.
And despite this being a pilot, it's not going to be pitched to Disney or Cartoon Network, as Enter has expressed distaste with networks and how they retain their rights for properties.
Oh yeah, companies are evil and should be destroyed for trying to earn money in order to survive.
Also, part of the reason why he went with Indiegogo was because his book wasn't as profitable as he once hoped. Adding on to that, not many people knew the book or even this Indiegogo.
How could those retards not know about the book or Indiegogo? It should have been well known due to being made by Mr. Enter.
Existed.
What do you mean? I thought he was the cartoon reviewer of 2018.
No, you're thinking of Pan Pizza.
Pan Pizza sucks. How fucking dare you say there is a better cartoon reviewer than the Great Lord Enter? You should get your intestines ripped out for saying that.
Then why have I not heard of it?
Well, because Mr. Enter doesn't believe in marketing.
And why shouldn't he? Marketing is a sin worse than mass homicide.
How will marketing growing around go?
I don't know how necessary that would be.
If you want a good example of indie promotion, Pop has a few Twitter accounts for his shows, and even does frequent merch promotions to help pay for the show. And the promotions themselves actually have some comedy in it, so it makes it more interesting to watch.
Cartoons shouldn't have comedy. They need to appeal to autistic grandchildren who have no sense of humor like me and have morals.
Smart stuff. But as you watch the pitch video, there's no animation or storyboards produced. But remember, Mr. Enter is not an illustrator, he's a writer. And as such, he paid someone $500 USD to make the stills for the video. As he states,
The short answer is, I didn't want to have to make an Indiegogo pitch for an Indiegogo pitch. The pitch video itself cost me over $500, including the storyboards, the editing, the music. If you want to count the model sheets the characters are based on, that's a lot more too. If it was fully animated, it would cost thousands on top of what I already made. In a world where kids make all of the rules, they run the schools, the homes, the towns, and the countries. It sounds like it would be a world of fun and games, and some days it is.
after watching the trailer, you might have a few questions about the show. Mainly in terms of why he needs all that money. We don't know what animation style the show will be in.
So fucking what? All that matters is that Lord Enter needs that money and we need to give it to him.
How does aging work? And even what after Indiegogo?
Again, So fucking what? All that matters is that Lord Enter needs that money and we need to give it to him.
This is also noting the many comments asking how the world works, always bringing up how convoluted and seemingly not thought out it was.
The world doesn't matter. Only the morals matter.
Thankfully, Mr. Enter released another video, answering nearly some of the questions half the time, making you go, huh. Firstly, he states that he needs the money because the animation is expensive. Well, yeah, but what style is he going for? Would be, say,
The style doesn't matter. Only the morals matter.
a rig-based animation in Toon Boom? Frame-by-frame animation all around? Will it be like any Filmation production where the characters stand around and talk? And also, with this much money for the first episode, pilot, what of the next episode?
The episodes doesn't matter. Only the morals matter.
At this time, around 20 to 25 scripts were completed, so by his standards, he needed between 7 million and 8,750,000 to make those scripts fully animated. You could say that he would of course lower the amount of money he asked for those episodes, but then it's like, how low would that be, and why wasn't it that low in the first place?
Why the fuck should it go lower? This is a reasonable amount of money to watch a cartoon made by Mr. Enter.
If this was, say, a movie or perhaps a short film, then asking for 350,000 would be sufficient in telling a complete story with a finite ending. Say if Has Been Hotel didn't get picked up, and instead wanted to be a short film, I can easily see Vivzy raising 350,000, or better yet, probably $1 million, which would be cool to see. But when asked about further funding, Mr. Enter said he'd make a Patreon.
That's a good way to fund a cartoon. To only use a Patreon account after asking for thousands of dollars.
Of course, this is keeping in mind budget-wise, a comparative show would be hell of a boss. They have frequent promotion of their merch, keep engaged with the fans, and they do all that they can to make more of the show, which is great. I want to see more of these characters. Go watch my 2 videos to see my in-depth feelings, of course.
No! Your videos are garbage.
Okay, what if he only gets, say, 1/4 of the money he asked for?
Then he should smite those evil Enter haters to hell.
Less than a quarter of the amount. We're probably going to try and fund an animatic to show people what the animation can do, and then do another crowdfunding campaign to get that animated. Maybe not with television quality animation.
Okay. All while this was happening, Tom Scott, of all people, reached out to Mr. Enter with a tweet, stating the project wouldn't reach its goal.
Wait! How fucking dare that fucking Enter hater cyberbully our Lord Enter? I hope Lord Enter sends him to get raped by Steven Universe.
They had a heart-to-heart about the concept.
I really do like his advice, and he seems like the person I'd most trust to follow the advice.
Well, if Lord Enter likes him, then I do too.
After all, he has done a crowdfunding campaign for an animated series. If there's someone you trust on this topic, it would definitely be him.
Yes, I agree with you, Almighty Enter. Eddsworld is an amazing cartoon writer who everyone should love.
And as the Indiegogo drew to a close, did Mr. Enter get the money? Did Mr. Enter deliver on the project? I mean, it is the present day, and he sees some animation on the screen. No, he didn't.
What a horrible injustice! Those mean-spirited trolls who refused to give money to Lord Enter need to get crushed to death by a giant anvil.
But of course, all wasn't lost. Mr. Enter did raise over $10,000. That's really good to see that people wanted to help out, and even Enter himself learning along the way.
Has growing around sort of pushed you to be a lot more socially active?
Yes.
Like,
Yes, it has. I mean, the people that I've worked with have become some of my best friends that I've ever had.
because think about it. Like this video you're doing right here. I don't believe you've collaborated with someone on I mean, you did the Steam Hams video,
Yeah.
but like before that, I don't believe you've collabed with someone for years.
I think the last one was with Pie Guy in 2014. Wow.
Yeah.
So that's the end of the video, right? The Indiegogo failed, Mr. Enter got humbled, and now he's off doing new, brighter things, yeah?
No. Check the runtime of the video.
You are still lame at telling jokes, faggot.
And subscribe.
I will never subscribe to you. You are a dumb troll who doesn't deserve subscribers.
Despite me getting in contact with Neofla and even Sarah, a former editor of Mr. Enter, I was unable to get in contact with, well, Mr. Enter.
Good. You are unworthy of being in the presence of our great and powerful Lord Enter.
As he states, I don't do interviews or debates anymore. Well, okay, so much for being social.
Our Lord Enter is very social. You are just an unworthy piece of shit.
Well then, what has he been up to then? Recently, as a reviewer, he acknowledged that he dislikes his older reviews, yet still falls into the same practices of previous reviewers.
So fucking what? Lord Enter does not need improvement because he's a god.
You see, with the likes of Pan Pizza and Ellis Mark,
Not again with Pan fucking Pizza. Pan Pizza is a disgrace to cartoon reviewers because he is not a 45-year-old autistic man-child whining about children cartoons.
although they have been making reviews for the longest time, they actually evolve their style.
Oh my god! Stop fucking stopping at the last word of your sentence. You need to go die for talking like that.
Mr. Enter, it's just a PNG in front of another PNG, and then he shows clips with not much flair.
Who cares? Those videos are godlike because Mr. Enter made them.
Riveting stuff all around, but in late 2019, he gave himself a challenge. In the month of December, he wanted to review every single Nickelodeon show that month. You'd think he was crazy. Yeah.
Explain the joke. You need to explain every single joke you tell so my feeble autistic mind can comprehend them.
As in order to achieve this, he'd have to review multiple series per day.
That is so sad how Lord Enter now must put disclaimers on his videos. Those retarded evil people who work for YouTube need to get sent to ISIS and get tortured to death for not forcing little kids to watch his videos.
Which makes each review poorly made, as he doesn't.
Wait! How dare you? How fucking dare you keep spitting on Lord Enter's work? You are so disrespectful. You need to work for Mr. Enter and be forced to work on his cartoon until you die. Then, and only then will you be forgiven for your sins.
Have enough time to properly watch and critique each show. To quote Jay-Z, you can't listen to an album and rate it in.
You listen to rap music, you dumb fucking cunt. Everyone knows rap music sucks. I bet you listen to Justin Bieber too.
A day. It's just impossible. This caused Nick O'Rama to bleed into the next year. Failing on his promise, the stress he forced upon himself blew up into his.
You better fucking feel like an asshole, you fucking nigger. Your criticisms were not reasonable. You are a cyber terrorist for criticizing Mr. Enter. You should die from cancer.
Departure from Twitter, calling it a toxic platform and leaving DeviantArt for the same reason.
Well, I hope you're fucking happy, you fucking bullies. You all made Mr. Enter leave DeviantArt and Twitter. Now what am I supposed to print out and shit on and then lick?
I suppose this might be a natural progression, as even to this day he still gets hate for things many years ago.
Why can't those fucking cyber bullies just leave Mr. Enter alone? They should get their heads chopped off and slowly bleed to death in a cactus field.
So in any event he actually releases growing around, I hope he's able to handle the criticism online.
Oh really? Well, I hope Mr. Enter smites those Enter haters who dare to criticize his cartoon into boiling hot water with rusty knives and salt. I would laugh at that like
During this time alone, with his thoughts and friends, however, he made a recent review over the Lion King 2019 movie.
Oh yes! The Disney Lion King remake fucking sucks. No one should like that movie because it's not like the original and it's not animated. And now I hate it even more because Lord Enter hates it, so I must agree with him. It is worse than the Emoji Movie or Norm of the North. I remember stealing my mommy's credit card to buy a ticket for it just so I could complain about it and quote comments I read on the internet about the movie being trash that I thought were funny, disturbing everyone there who was trying to watch it. Anyone who likes the Lion King remake should get raped by terrorists 1,000,000 times, and then slowly get splinters in their eyes, testicles, and other parts of their body until they are dead, and then get sent to hell to suffer for eternity. I hate Disney. I wish everyone at Disney would be submitted to torture of the worst kind.
In which he explores some of his feelings regarding what he has accomplished. Such things as making a game, and even a book came across his mind with his younger selves, telling him to appreciate what he's gotten.
That video was very original. It certainly wasn't a ripoff of a certain Nostalgia Critic video involving Scooby-Doo.
And that's right. Not many people were able to say that they finished a game or even wrote a book. And amongst his atrocity reviews, a recent series that gained public fanfare was Technocracy.
Did he stop pursuing his show? You literally just mentioned him growing as a reviewer, making new content people enjoy.
Oh my god! Is that Mr. Enter as a sexy child? That is so fucking hot! I wish I could fuck you Enter like we.
Did he finally stop making Growing Around in 2018?
No, he kept going. During his Nick O. Rama escapades on his second channel, he released a video talking about Max's many birthdays, which was supposed to be the pilot funded from his old Indiegogo. Remembering that Max was Timmy previously, and within the video, he explains his distaste for pilots, calling them inaccurate representations of the final product.
Pilots are a really, really bad way of showcasing a television show. Especially if your show is anything other than an episode a week kind of deal. I do get the point of the pilot. It's more or less a pitch towards the audience, and in it, it's supposed to establish the setting, the characters, and the tone. But it feels like it's something that belongs in the past. It's something that we've outgrown.
Oh yeah! I agree with you, great and powerful Lord Enter. Anyone who makes pilots doesn't deserve to make cartoons. They should get fired and get arrested and get the death penalty.
Between you and I, when a pilot is picked up,
Wait a minute. Are you defending pilots? Oh my fucking god. How fucking dare you keep criticizing Enter and trying to make it look like he's in the wrong? Everyone knows that whatever Mr. Enter says is fact. Eat shit and die, fucker.
are changed. Some things as big as an art style, or perhaps just refining some of the smaller aspects. The idea of a pilot is to take off, and for a series to land, meaning the flight was successful. Every plane needs a few tune-ups to fly a bit longer. Aside from his view on pilots, he adopted the idea that as a creative head, everything is your fault.
I know it's said by the villain of the movie, but it's actually good advice. And it's something that I take into my overall life. If the people I work with screw up, and the screw-ups slip by me, it is my fault. There is no excuse. It's my fault the second that I decided this is okay in some way, shape, or form.
No, Lord Enter, it's not your fault. It's those fucking retards' fault for exposing that trash to your beautiful eyes. Please give those screw-ups a slow and painful death.
And remember when I said he had 20 to 25 scripts written back in 2018? Well, as of January 2020, he has over 70 finished and wants to complete 175. And if you want to read any of them, they're locked away on his Discord server.
Good. Those fucking trolls don't deserve to read those wonderful scripts Mr. Enter has made.
But if you wish to read the scripts, please don't go there just to harass him, and I don't encourage any of that. But circling back, if we took the $350,000 that he originally wanted and applied it to 175, that would be $61,250,000 if all episodes had the same budget.
Oh my god, is that all? I would most certainly pay $61,250,000 for that masterpiece Enter has made. Then I'd fan to the show in every episode.
This is keeping in mind that he wants to have the scripts at least 22 to 26 minutes a pop.
People who were working with me at the time suggested that I tell something in 3 minutes, or in some tragic cases, even less.
And I bet you cut their penises off and shoved dynamite up their cunts. Oh, please say you did, Lord Enter.
I have made a lot of mistakes in this great adventure of making my own series, and we're gonna get to them sooner or later, but making Growing Around a 22-minute episode type show was not a mistake. I am very glad that I stuck to my guns on this one.
Yes, yes, yes. I agree with you, Lord Enter. Any cartoon that is 11 minutes long or less is an animated atrocity.
On that same theme within the video, he states that his audience is unable to understand the world that he created, also stating that he doesn't owe an explanation for his premise.
I owe literally zero explanation to my premise. That is the definition of a premise in fiction. Any explanation you get with my premise is a bonus.
Yes, Lord Enter. You don't have to explain the world because it's perfect in every single way. And those who want an explanation or question the rules in the cartoon is a fucker and should be handed over to ISIS and be beheaded.
And for some reason, he brought to light a comment or two that said this.
My favorite piece of criticism was people saying that they'd kill themselves if they lived in the world of growing around.
Wait! Those ungrateful fuckers! Who wouldn't want to live in the world of growing around? There are so many sexy kids who act like adults to rape and be made sex slaves.
Like, that was a problem with the concept or something.
Yes, I agree with you, Lord Enter. Who wouldn't want to live in a world where when you grow up you lose all your human rights and have to eat junk food all day and not be able to eat healthy and exercise to take care of your body? Heck, that's what I do all day. How would that be any different from my normal life?
I suppose it's not on the audience if Mr. Enter can't properly convey his idea.
What the fuck are you talking about? Of course Mr. Enter can properly convey his idea. He just doesn't have to. You are fucking trash for insulting Mr. Enter. You deserve to be beat up and killed.
Keeping in mind that everything is his fault. And
Nothing is Lord Enter's fault. You deserve to be killed slowly and painfully.
with that, he capped off the video saying,
Oh, and for those who think I'm being egotistical or crazy or whatever, talking like 30 minutes about something that's never ever gonna be made, I have a surprise for you. And it's also a surprise for those who had the patience to hear me out.
and then he proceeded to show his audience the animatic for the first joke of his pilot.
Oh my god! I'm in shock. This is such great animation.
What will happen next of the series? And will you please check out my winter merch at crowdmade.com?
No! I will never buy anything from you, you untalented entertaining piece of shit.
And subscribe if you like my video.
Never! How fucking dare you tell me to subscribe? I hope you get your house blown up with you in an engine die for 10 months suffocating and burning all over. Also, I hate your video.
These are things you must do.
Wait! How dare you, you satanic horrid awful fetus nigger! You dare say I must subscribe and like your stupid videos! I hope you get sent to World War II and get sliced in half and bleed out your insides awake and slowly die!
Crosswalk, Sally. My parents could drive better than you. Just an average day in Summerway.
Wait! That was amazing! Thank you, almighty Lord Enter! I am so honored to be blessed with such great quality!
With the series as Enter writes it, he put himself into a creative box. With 70 episodes completed, and each one will be 22 to 26 minutes, while budgeting will be a bit hard.
No, it won't! Mr. Enter has an army of men children to do his bidding. They will be more than happy to give him the money he needs.
This is also keeping in mind that his scripts are made in Google Docs.
What's so wrong with that? Google Docs is a great place to write scripts.
I have a few, all of them, on hand, and let me tell you, it's a hard thing to read.
That's because your small feeble mind is incapable of reading the great Enter's magnum opus.
You see, the idea, on average, is that each page in a standard script is a minute within the film's runtime. This is flexible due to line delivery and editing, of course.
Those are dumb live-action shows, and not great sexy cartoons made by Lord Enter.
But since Mr. Enter doesn't like writing in the proper script format, we don't really know how long it will be per episode.
Budgeting? What? Thought you said he only had the Indiegogo.
Well, that's why this video exists. Speaking with a former recent editor of Enter, Sarah, states that Enter is looking to fundraise again with a lower amount.
Yes, the fundraiser is sure to work this time. Mr. Enter has so many loyal man children. Nothing can go wrong.
And as he describes it, it would be about $20,000 for an episode. Which, of course, comparing the prices of $350,000 and $20,000, well, seems a bit more reasonable. But remember, this is not fundraising a pilot of sorts. Mr. Enter hates pilots.
And you should too.
Of course, Sarah wasn't able to say much about the pitch because he didn't feel like it. And so I asked if there was a chance that within 2 years we'll see an episode.
Like within 2 years from today?
Yes.
I'd give that about a 75% chance of happening.
What about 1 year from now?
1 year from now, 25% chance, I'd say.
It should have been 100%. How dare he doubt the great Lord Enter? He should apologize to him and lick his ass.
The main goal behind the new fundraiser, and to the greater extent the series itself, is that Mr. Enter wants to make enough money for another episode. Also, in a previous interview, Mr. Enter stated that growing around isn't profitable.
Growing around
It sure doesn't seem profitable if he says so.
isn't something that's profitable, at least with the model that I'm taking. I'll most likely monetize the pilot and any episodes that come out, but it's going to be very hard to make a living off of that.
Mixing that in with the lack of marketing, and even this next problem, the likelihood of this series ever existing in its current form is slim to none.
Of course this series will fucking exist. Stop doubting Lord Enter, you satanic piece of shit.
I keep saying former editor, as on Twitter, Sarah cut ties of Enter and his brand entirely, stating that
That does factor into it, but it's mostly just everything on top of each other plus the persistence of it throughout the year.
Is it something that he brings attention to his group?
He does talk about it quite a bit. It's not all the group focuses on, but it comes up once in a while, yeah. Between me and Mr. Enter specifically, there were a lot of arguments about politics, specifically in this past year, that ended up making the situation between us pretty tense. And after a while, I just figured it was better for my own mental health if I distanced myself from it.
to recap
How dare that horrible person quit working for Mr. Enter and disagree with him? He should get force-fed lavender from the inside.
everything that went on so far. In 2014, Neofla and Enter created Growing Around. Neofla officially left the project in 2017, being unable to make it work and have good longevity. A year later, Mr. Enter started at Indiegogo and failed. 2 years later, Enter is looking to fundraise again. Harking back to what Mr. Enter said in his January 2020 video, the leader must accept fault whenever something happens, good or bad. For the good, Mr. Enter wrote a book, published it, used some of the money to make some comics, and even wrote at least 70 scripts. These things are nothing to sneeze at, and I have no cold coming. Good stuff.
I don't find that joke funny. How dare you not appeal to my sense of humor? Make jokes that I find funny trash.
But the main negative issue is that no one wants to see your project succeed as much as you do, and if people don't like the first episode, then why would they like the other 69?
Because they are made by Mr. Enter. That's why.
Numbers. What Neofla tried to do back in 2016 and 2017, great shorts, was not a slight on Enter, rather just seeing if they were able to produce something, anything. That's why to me it was a bit difficult to see Mr. Enter do anything with the 350,000 if he were to get it.
Of course Mr. Enter could do stuff with the money. You are just an enter-hating troll.
As we've seen close to nothing animated by him previously, publicly.
We don't need to see any animation. We know this cartoon is getting made because Mr. Enter said so.
And of course, even to this day, alienating the people working for you, such as bringing up politics, meaning that the people who do want to see this project succeed might flake out for one reason or another.
It's because those are unworthy pieces of shit to work for Lord Enter. Those trolls need to be made to death like Evans.
Before asking for a bunch of money, I do have some tips if you want to create a thing.
That wasn't funny. You have a dumb sense of humor, you retard.
First, before asking for large sums of money or even pitching, try to see what you can do on your own with a smaller, way smaller, personal budget. Be it out of pocket, such as paying some voice actors, some background artists, or just seeing what you can do on your own to get something out. For example, in 2020 I had a goal animation-wise. While doing my regular content and finishing up college, I graduated.
You didn't deserve to graduate. You should have failed and had to join a freak show and commit suicide.
I wanted to also produce an animated short. The goals were to make a new IP, new art style, gather a team, hire voice actors, and finish it using the program After Effects. Mainly because I wanted to get better at After Effects. It's a big scary program. And don't worry, I read the comments. If I wanted to pursue this concept further, some notable standout critiques include more backgrounds for camera angles, and perhaps a bigger background to cut into. Such scenes like the
That's the best you could do. And you dare to call yourself an animator? This is worse animation than Mr. Pickles and Teen Titans Go! You should get your hands chopped off for making this so you can never animate again! Every animation needs to be at the quality of Disney or Growing Around!
The cafe or even the park could have been wider and filled in with background characters on a loop to make the world seem more lived in. Also, the way the narrative was written, being split up in small vignettes during out the week, Saturdays off, didn't gel well with the viewer and to many, felt a bit slow in the progression, and not too many people were interested in the story itself. And of course, there were comments about animation being poor, lackluster. I can't believe he reviews animation when this is what he can do, but par
You deserve to get harassed like that! You don't deserve to be an animator!
from a few small tweaks that could have been changed, it was as animated as it needed to be for the story I wanted to tell. Of course,
No, it wasn't! You deserve to die for thinking that this was okay when a 4-year-old would know to burn this!
that didn't mean I couldn't have thrown in a few more hands into the rig. And yes, this whole project was animated in Adobe After Effects, lip-synced in Adobe Animate, and the walk cycles done in Animate. Although the like to dislike ratio was healthy, there didn't seem to be too much interest with the characters themselves. However, if this was the idea I was shooting for, and people didn't get too attached to the characters, then what would a few more backgrounds do? Shout out to Ill Corpses for making some wonderful fan art of my characters. I really appreciate it.
He isn't a furry! Calling him a furry is a disgrace to furries!
Nevertheless, it was fun and I'm glad I made it. And I look forward to next year's project.
Your next project should be you shoving broken glass up your ass, sliding your body on a cheese grinder, slamming your head on a pile of rusty nails, stabbing your testicles with a pitchfork, pouring vinegar all over yourself, then swallowing a match and slowly and painfully burning to death. I would turn to that like way. You would deserve it for not liking Mr. Enter.
As the new script, characters and art style were already along their way. I didn't need to ask for $350,000 to know that people weren't going to like my project. With Jonathan Rosansky to this day actively pursuing this passion project, with the goal of it being funded, I don't know how well that would actually turn out.
It will be the best show ever. I would buy all the DVDs, merch, and other growing around stuff. Even a Sally Lonnie pillow that I can fuck like wait.
Considering he left Twitter, DeviantArt, and if anyone pings him or sends a friend request to enter on Discord, he blocks them and bans them from the Discord. I mean, it happened to me.
You deserve to be blocked from his Discord. You don't deserve to be in Lord Enters Presents.
I mean, I'm not sure how he could handle people criticizing his longest dedicated project he ever made.
Oh yes! These are great rules, Lord Enter. I shall obey.
You see, the trope of a critic making something and it turns out bad is a mixture of the high expectations of said person mixed with how they review things online. For Pan Pizza, as for shows not as appreciated within the public eye, he can still find enjoyment with them.
He shouldn't. He should find no good things in bad media like a good little man-child of Mr. Enter.
Chip Squad feels like a low-budget product with an inexperienced crew doing the best they can and learning along the way, and I respect that. The only way to get good at something is just jump into it. Better to go in raw or not at all.
No! The only way to get good at something is to follow every rule of our great Lord Mr. Enter. Fuck you, Pan Pizza. I hope you get sent to North Korea and be forced into a boot camp and die slowly and painfully by horrible torture. Friendship Squad is trash like Teen Titans Go because my man-child friend said so. Anyone who likes Friendship Squad needs to get their limbs blasted off and get slowly and painfully ripped apart by horse torture.
So with this comic releasing, people were pretty much open to his idea.
I hope his comic fails so bad that he is sentenced to never be able to write another comic book again. Pan Pizza is a horrible person who doesn't deserve to be happy.
And the same goes for Ellis Mark. He is actively working on a pitch for his upcoming series, and the reception around it is very positive, as so are most of his critique videos that he makes. Unless they're about Adam Sandler, of course. For Mr. Enter, even watching one of his more current videos, you think he hates the idea of animation at all.
What the fuck do you mean? A fucking course Lord Enter likes animation. He just hates animation that isn't to his approval. We must follow every rule of our all-powerful Lord Enter. Those who don't agree with everything he says will be sent to hell and be submitted to torture of the worst kind. But the good little man-children of Lord Enter will be able to prosper in pony and child pornography for all eternity. Lord Enter loves his children, and we must love him back. So we need to follow his each and every whim. Amen.
Considering the fact, he stopped making admirable animation because it was too hard to write for.
Well, what did you expect, with so many crappy cartoons like Thundercats, Roar, and Family Guy which don't appeal to man-children and watch every video from Lord Enter to know what to do?
I don't give a shit who Rick is as a person. And here's the funny thing. I only enjoy Rick and Morty because I don't give a shit who Rick is as a person.
Yes, I agree with you, Mr. Enter. Rick is a terrible, mean-spirited character who should be tortured to death.
Mr. Enter couldn't conceive any possible way this project wouldn't get made, either from his Indiegogo or perhaps another way around.
If all else failed, he would either turn to comics or he would practice animation himself, which currently he has no experience in.
So what if he has no experience in animation? He will animate better than Disney. He is the greatest cartoon reviewer and animator in existence.
But I am pretty confident that he would find a way to continue the idea even if it did fail to raise enough money for more episodes.
He actively thought that this was the project to put him on the map. That was like a lot of pauses. You actually see this everywhere. A lot of artists have these grand ideas that they want to make, and although the hardest part is starting the project, the second hardest is finishing it.
Well, with Mr. Enter it's different. Mr. Enter will have his cartoon made because it has differentiate, and those cartoons don't. Every cartoon needs to have that in order to succeed.
Be it because you overestimated the time that you had to work on it, your overestimation of the skills you had, or perhaps your self-doubt with what you have. But remember, you will always have new ideas, and in any case, just reincorporating the ideas that you already made into a new project, or just shelving it for now to work on later. Go watch my zoophobia video to learn a bit more about that. But to
No! Your videos are trash!
spend over 6 years trying to make the same idea, you get into a cycle, thinking that if I got this far, I must finish it right now. But it sometimes gets to the point where in your own head, and you can't comprehend why the audience doesn't understand you.
Stop fucking talking like a retard! The way you talk is really fucking annoying! Take speech lessons, you retard!
I have 70 scripts, a partial animatic, and another fundraiser to help this idea, cause surely, this time around, people want to see it come to life.
Of course! Who wouldn't want to see a cartoon made by Mr. Enter?
As much as I would love to see Mr. Enter produce an animated property,
Of course you would! Who wouldn't want to see a cartoon made by Mr. Enter?
perhaps now growing around isn't that thing.
Yes it is! Shut up!
Or maybe it will never be that thing.
This is just so disgusting! How fucking dare he disrespect our Lord Enter this way!
In its current state.
What would you do now, then?
To me, the whole idea of kids being in power and adults being second-class citizens doesn't really work.
That's why you need to be stabbed to death with pitchforks!
And if Mr. Enter isn't able to make a conceivable way of making it work, then I'd just finish the last script I was tooling around, release the scripts in PDF form on Gumroad for some change, titling it The 71 Scripts of Growing Around, and just move on to the next project.
No! 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 Lord Enter should not sell Growing Around! You are a satanic bitch for saying that! You need to get slowly shoved into a wood chipper and die!
Thank you for watching. This video wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for my lovely patrons.
You're not fucking welcome! Also look at all those retards who gave this asshole money!
And please, I'm Daft Pina, and don't forget to have fun.
Great ending! A retarded way to end a retarded video! What do I have to say? This is one of the worst fucking videos I have ever seen in my life! Not only does it have him disrespecting our great and powerful Lord Enter, but it also has all these other fucking cyberbully cunts who are mean to Mr. Enter. Fuck you, Daft Pina. I hope you get the worst torture in hell when you die. Ugh. I am so frustrated. I guess I'll go back to the movie C tier and complain over another movie I don't like disturbing all the other people in the C tier.